Hardin Children's Medical Center, providing comprehensive pediatric care for Arizona's families.
It was first day of my summer vacation, so I remember it. I remember going home feeling like, ugh, no more school, it's the first day of summer, and it was a nice day out. My brother was full of energy and incredibly adorable, and just everything he said was funny and just kind of, you know, he was adorable. He was great. He was a good kid. I was playing with my brother, playing with Andrew, in a sunroom. We had a sunroom right outside of the backyard. So we were playing with his fire truck, and I got up and went to the bathroom, and my mother was in the kitchen right next to the sunroom. And I was just kind of goofing around as a teenager does, and then I heard my mother scream for my dad. My dad was sleeping. He was taking a nap with my other little brother, and he woke right up, and I could hear him running outside. And so I ran outside too, and I saw my dad pulling him out of the pool. And he was white and had blue lips, and he wasn't breathing. And we didn't know if he had a heartbeat or not, but my dad started CPR right away. He threw up. I remember that. He threw up on my dad, and he just kept on going. And they told me to go ahead and call for 911.
We're one of those 3 states, Texas, Arizona, Florida, that have a high rate of drownings. There's other states that don't have a high rate. You don't hear about it. So these parents don't realize that these kids can get out in those backyard pools. They think, oh, there's a barrier. There's the sliding glass door between that and the pool. So they don't think about putting up the pool fence. You know, they think we'll get around to it. We'll get around to it. Well, you can't get around to it. This is something that needs to be done immediately. It's amazing, you know, how young these children are, and they're getting out doggy doors. They're getting out sliding glass doors. Kids are fascinated by water. They love water, and they're very curious. So it's, you know, something that they're drawn to. And if there's anything floating in their pool, and it can be something as simple as a leaf, those kids are going to reach for it, and if they're reaching for it, they could fall in.
Then it was just waiting outside of the ICU and waiting to see what was going to happen. And I'd never seen my dad cry. He was crying. And I think I was really shocked, and I couldn't cry, and I felt like I should be. But I was in too much of a shock. So I remember them saying we could come and see him. And he was tan from head to toe because he never liked to wear clothes. And he was on a respirator and covered in tubes. And he just seemed so lifeless, and that's where it began.
Non-fatal drownings can have a couple different outcomes. You can have those kids that, you know, are dunked down and they come up, they start CPR right away, they go to the hospital, and some of these kids are released from the emergency room, or they're overnight for a night or two and they go home fine and there's nothing wrong with them. And then you have the non-fatal drownings that can be so tragic, and these kids end up with so much brain damage because they didn't get any oxygen to their brain. And so this can be lifelong effects on the child and on the family members, and it's constant care of these children, and it's very sad to see this.
It ruined my family's life. We weren't a regular family anymore. You don't, you know, the next morning you don't just get up and everybody goes to work. Both my parents ended up losing their jobs trying to take care of my brother, and you know, you're not able to work or function properly, and the family's kind of gets torn apart, and you try to band together, but it's very difficult.
We see divorces with drownings, whether it's non-fatal or fatal drownings. The divorce rate is very, very high. There's always that blaming going on. which is really sad to see, but it does happen. And then sometimes these kids have to be put into long-term care facilities.
Andrew's 26, and he can't walk, he can't talk, he can't eat on his own, and he lives at home. My dad takes care of him, and my stepmom and myself. He is too brittle to really get out of bed. Regret's the biggest thing. I was playing with him. If I hadn't have left, if I had picked him up and brought him with me, of course, I regret it all the time. You know, and you can take blame for it too. I'm thankful that I know somebody like my brother, because he really is one of the happiest people. And when I feel like, oh gosh, life is so hard, I just think about, I can get out of bed, I can enjoy dinner, I can do all those things that he can't do. Looking back, we could have done so many things. I remember when we moved into that house, it was the first house we ever had with a pool, and it didn't have a fence. And we all said, oh, this isn't good. We knew it wasn't good. Not everybody had pool fences back then, and it wasn't part of the law, but I wish it was.